top, we call that Buffalo Hills. We actually have some buffaloes that live next to us.
Brett keeping it tight on that uphill leg. Looks like he's coming around that transition to the downhill section.
The course. We're back here at Havoc Hills. I'm Ben Spinney. You can see the sun's gone away. It's been raining. It's going to affect the course. This course doesn't only test horsepower and steering, but it tests the brakes as well, featuring several steep up and down climbs. Let's check out some highlights from this morning. Here's Kelly Wirtz. You can see he loses his winch cable. That's a safety violation. The judges are forced to stop him. John Martinson was off to an awesome run until he sent it way too big. He broke his steering, resulting in a DNF. Here's Jerry Stevens snapping his second Turbo 400 in 2 days. Justin Half flying up the course, one of the fastest drivers in the game. Unfortunately, he spits out a front drive line. He's going to have to call it. James Picard had an awesome run. He smoked that steep uphill. Neil Harrison slid out of control. He finished, but it sure did add to his time. Jeff Noggle was an absolute madman with full throttle assaults all the way to the finish. Jay Cooper spun all the way up the hill climb. He finished mid-pack. Kelly Day ate this course live. Tracker Bain. He put down a sick run and an awesome air show for the crowd.
We're back at the start line with Brent Herrell. He's in the change order buggy. This is a rock-style bouncer. This thing will eat up this course, really made for this type of racing.
That's right, Mac. And Brent Herrell, he is a driver. He's coming up that first long leg now, right up to the top. We call that Buffalo Hills. We actually have some buffaloes that live next to us.
Brett keeping it tight on that uphill leg. Looks like he's coming around that transition to the downhill section.
The course is definitely improving, and Brett knows it. He will be able to push a little harder since this track's drying out.
That was one of the fastest downhill sections that I've seen from anybody today. Brett is flying towards that crossing and setting himself for those jumps.
Brett's going to play it smart on these jumps. I know he wants to win this event this year. I can tell by the time clock right now, this is a first place run so far.
He's almost to the top of the hill here, making that second big corner to the downhill. This transition from uphill to downhill can be tricky.
Blasting down the last downhill. Big 180 at the bottom, and they head directly back up through a bunch of jumps and bumps through the finish line.
He's making quick work of this last uphill section to the finish. He's been driving cool and calm and collected all day.
And he knows when to be aggressive, like right now. I could watch these rock bouncers fly up this course all day long. This is sick.
Brent Herrell just crushed that course. We got a new leader, Brent Herrell, at 94.15 seconds. We have our very own Gray Whittier starting Stephen Montpas and Green Willie's 3.0.
That's right, this is Green Willie 3.0, Stephen Montpas. He's made an awesome name for himself in the racing world over the last few years. He just built this rig. He kept it a complete secret from everybody up until Tech Day when he showed up.
You know, one of my favorite things about Havoc is that we take any type of vehicles. 1 minute you can see a rock bouncer, and then the next second you see a Willie's Jeep.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the coolest things about Havoc. Look at Montpas on course. He is flying. His goal was to build a brand new competitive rig, and I think he's done a great job so far.
He's keeping his wheel speed up and just went nice and low under those jumps, coming up to the second one.
This is basically a test run right now. It is virtually untested other than last night in the tow test.
Looks like he's transitioning back down to this downhill section. Maybe going a little bit slower, but definitely get the job done.
I'll tell you, this is one of the best crews out there. All the drivers love these guys. They have a gigantic, great family crew. They all work together. They help other racers out, and the Montpas crew is definitely one of the favorites.
Montpas grabbing some gears here. This is a new rig, but he's definitely driving aggressive.
He's a competitor. He's a past top truck champion, I watched him personally at the Champions Cup tear the entire roof off of Green Willie. He lets it all hang out.
Montpas rolling tough over that finish line. Here's the leaderboard. Brent Herrell still taking that #1 position, followed by James Picard and Steven Montpas.
I'm thinking it's keeping the power on the ground. Honestly, it's really loose. Wherever you land, you got to get going again. So we hit a couple of these faces trying to keep the tires on the ground so we could be fast. Rolled down this other stuff. And then coming out, they threw a couple more humps in for us at the end to throw us off. They did a good job, but no, it felt pretty good coming out the end.
On the line, we got Nolan Scopel. He's in the Ford that we call Gord. On the side, you'll see WCR, who's representing that Western Canadian Rockwell.
You got that right, Western Canadian Rockwell coming out of Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. They supply a lot of these crazy parts for these rigs, whether it be military axles, Scotch shocks, all kinds of good stuff. Check out Western Canadian Rockwell.
Nolan catching that top lip right there, getting a little squirrely. He really pushes through these courses. Not a lot of finesse with Nolan.
We've seen Nolan perform here before, no stranger to Havoc. He did this a couple years ago, put on a great show, wound up rolling backwards on this hill. He makes it up today. Great pace so far.
That was my first introduction to some of the crazy driving that we've seen on these hills. Nolan winning the Badass Award 2 years ago because he was flipping his rig was amazing.
Nolan's a showman. He rips these courses up. The crowd loves it. He knew he had to get a great start today if he wanted to be a contender for the Havoc crown, and he's on pace now.
Nolan grabbing some rear steer and absolutely roosting up this hill.
I love that shot coming from the Send It drone way up above Bonners Ferry, Idaho. Here comes Nolan Scope towards the finish line.
Might have got pitched a little bit there by some of those whoops, but he's right back on track and finishing up.
Let's see how he wound up. It worked for him. Nolan Scope going into second place. Brent Herrell in first. Here we have Brent Herrell, son of Brett and Mandy Herrell. They call this buggy Havoc. This is our youngest driver this year or ever, 15-year-old Brent Herrell.
Brent Herrell, he's definitely a Havoc young gun. He's up and coming, and he's great for the off-road motorsport.
What an awesome in-cab shot from Brent there as he flies down this course. Uh-oh, put it in reverse, Terry. Brent making a slight mistake, back on course. Even though he made a slight mistake, the clock shows he's on a fast pace. This buggy is a monster. Let's see how the suspension does on these jumps.
Brent airing it out for the crowd. We all love that. It's usually not the fastest when you air it out, but he's definitely putting in a good time.
He is getting a little wild. Those jumps do cost some time. Brent really needs to hold it together here, but he is on a fast pace.
Super fast. You know, I love that point of view of the co-driver. You can tell they're not just sitting shotgun right there. They're actually communicating to their driver and telling them where to go and how to do it.
Communication is key. Jeremy Yukin getting to go for a great ride with Brent. Here they come towards the finish line.
Brent coming up to the whoop section. So far, super impressed on how his suspension and this rig is holding together. This is going to be a quick time.
Let's see where he lands. Wow, second place right behind his dad. Well done, Brent Herrell.
I felt pretty good about it. It bounced up a little more than I wanted it to, but overall it was a good run, it felt like. I don't think I beat my dad in this, but maybe, hopefully. If I did beat him, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a ride home.
Welcome back. We are in the middle of the Havoc Hills competition with Canadian Rob Neal on course.
Rob Neal in the Infidel, powered by a Chevy motor. I really like how this chassis looks. Cool, bending, nice red coilover shocks, and that nasty, aggressive look with those tires.
And Rob is one good driver. He's ripping up Buffalo Hill right now. This track continues to dry out. Traction's going to get better and better.
Rob's a contender. He's been driving for a few years now. He's from Canada, and those guys are crazy. He's definitely going to bring his A game today.
Yeah, Rob and his wife, Mel, two cool people from Canada. We had a great party with them the other night. These guys are always fun to be around, and Rob is always fun to watch race these courses.
Rob's looking great on course. Just rolled over that first hit, coming up to the second, making sure to keep that wheel speed going. Gets a little bit squirrely there, but he's definitely on his way uphill.
Looking good to me. Throwing roost across that top section as he passes the sponsored tents. This is where they test the brakes going into this lower corner.
Looks like Rob pretty much coasted down, hit the rear steer, coming up that last leg.
Finish line is in sight. Here he comes through that bomb section.
I really like this run from Rob. No mistakes, keeping it pretty smooth. He's going to be happy with this run.
To finish first, you must first finish, and Rob does that.
There's the leaderboard, and it talks. We got the Herrells on top with Rob Neal, third place.
Jordan Regan is playing in the creek while Leroy Latham begins his run. This is last year's Havoc champion on course now.
What's Jordan doing? It looks like he might have been going fishing for something.
Or panning for gold, you never know. Listen to Leroy hit this course.
I'll tell you what, basically don't blink. This monster buggy and Leroy, he is on fire. It looks like he's on a Sunday drive almost with that rear engine buggy.
One of the most entertaining drivers to watch. It's been great seeing him evolve over the last 10 years with this rig and his driving style.
I'm going to call it right now. That was probably the fastest run in that first section.
I agree. I think this is the fastest run we've seen so far. Leroy has lots of experience on this course, although these courses are never the same when these guys show up.
Super fast on that leg. No air is usually the quickest line, and he definitely knows what he's doing.
Leroy is one of those drivers that actually accelerates downhill. He's a throttle control master, and all of the other drivers watch him as he runs.
Yeah, that's why they call him the champ. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he does it well. He's consistently on the podium, and I love watching this guy drive.
Great guy, too. We love hanging out with him. He has his own event in Nevada, High Desert Top Truck Challenge. We love going down there and being part of that as well.
At the finish, Leroy going absolutely huge. Lands him right in first place at 88.35 seconds.
I didn't want to do anything spectacular. Try and keep the tires close to the ground, and once I knew they were biting again, we just put more throttle to it and kept going.
Greg Torio ready to launch. Here he goes. Another Mike Flake chassis coming out of Canada. Looks similar to Rob Neal's.
One of my favorite parts of this course is the start. You pretty much get to see him go as fast out as much as they can, and then making that left corner to the uphill.
Yeah, this course gets better every year. We love the fact that it's ever changing. We're always trying to develop new stuff out here with the Mountain Mafia.
Watching those ag tires eat right there, definitely a good tire choice, and a lot of people are running those for this event.
What we call ag tires are these tractor tires that come in an R1 tread. They're my personal favorite out here at the ranch. They just grab and throw.
Ripping it, that's what Greg's doing right there, and those tires are definitely helping. That dust is not necessarily because it's not wet out, but it's because these tires just absolutely chew up the courses.
Greg's doing a great job so far. He's an awesome driver. We watch these drivers all year round. We keep a couple votes for ourselves, and we selected Greg Torio this year to be in Havoc because he shows a lot of promise.
Yeah, Ben, he got my vote. You know, right now he's giving her everything that she's got to get up to this last part of this finish.
Let's see where Greg winds up. Third place, nice. Right behind Brent Herrell and Leroy Latham. Welcome back to Mountain Havoc 2018, presented by AMSOIL. We have two drivers left in Havoc Hills. This is Chris Kaufman.
His rig is the Punisher. It's based off a Toyota chassis. This thing is light, fast, LS engine. It's super powerful.
Keeping those tractor tires spinning up this hill. Chris is another one of our many Oregon drivers, and he was able to capture a spot at High Desert Top Truck Challenge where we run another qualifier.
That's really all I need to hear, Ben. If he truly qualified and earned his spot at High Desert, you know Chris is here to throw down.
Chris does throw down. He's a rad dude. I know him from some of the other Oregon wheelers that I'm friends with. I know he rolls with the Skies Off-Road crew, and he's off to a great run here.
The Punisher absolutely stomping that first section, rolling up to the crowd favorite, putting a little air underneath the tires and keeping it rolling.
He sure is keeping it rolling there, Mac. Those trailing arms are working really well. I love that suspension setup. I crawled underneath that rig and checked it out. He did a great job on this truck.
Chris is a craftsman. The Punisher rig is a high-quality build. He also owns his own diesel shop.
Diesel Off-Road and Authority out of Oregon. That's who backs this truck. Chris is an awesome diesel mechanic. He's got to be so excited right now. He's got the finish line in sight. You can see that suspension working. This is Havoc. You know he's stoked. Here he comes. Gotta love the way this man drives. Up and over that finish line jump. Where's he gonna land? Chris Kaufman, third spot. Brent Herrell, second. Leroy Latham still in first place. And up next, Brian Foss Hog. This thing is nasty. 1,000 horsepower, tearing up that course right now.
Foss Hog is a beast. This tank comes from Canada and takes no prisoners. One of the only rigs out here pushing 1,000 horsepower in this competition.
Giant tires, giant shocks, and 10,000 pounds. Brian Foss absolutely bullies his way around this course.
Foss bombing down this downhill section.
Foss is one of the coolest dudes to be around up here. Always having a good time, always holds the throttle down, but he's here just to have fun. He wants to put on a show for the crowd. He wants to enjoy hanging with his family and camping out. And then at the same time, he sees red and throws down.
Foss definitely has the right attitude. He comes here and puts on a heck of a show, always wants to win, and that thing needs to be in a top spot.
Brian Foss is a true contender. Not everybody believes that yet. He's really big and heavy and wide, but he's showing us right now that he has what it takes to be a champion out here.
It's true. I also like the fact that he has made this his own vehicle. He's put a lot of time and his own resources into this thing.
He has some of the great minds in the sport working on it, and Brian sure is becoming a good pilot.
It was okay. I thought the hill was going to be way worse than it was, and you know, we're all psyched ourselves out down there, and everybody's like, oh, but go up, over, and then it was just like, oh, it was good after that. Once that crested the first one, and I was like, I'm home free, and then yeah, off to the end, and we're done. It's awesome.
The leaderboard says it all. Leroy Latham wins the hill climbs, followed by Brian Foss and Brent Herrell. After 2 events, we have a first place tie, Brian Foss and Leroy Latham. Tune in next time to the Amsoil Hill and Hole, motocross style racing with big jumps and plenty of vehicular violence. On behalf of the Mountain Mafia, we'll see you next time.